So also on your blackboard is assignment number 5. And then in this assignment, we'll learn how to use the circle template. Okay, so when you look at your own, it's a circle template, you'll notice that each circle, in addition to the size printed next to it, oh, I'll have to wait till I come back to the camera, it has either lines or small holes, which divide the circles into quadrants. Those become important when we're setting up the circle within our perfect square. So I'd like you to read all this because, again, it will reiterate what I'm going to say in class. And I'll never ask you to do circles and heavyweight lines because that would be finding a circle that was just the perfect, a bit smaller, and making sure you got it perfectly centered to offset so you could have those two overlapping lines. So I'll either ask for medium or lightweight lines. This is assignment 5, or DR5. So lay out the title block on ClearPrint. ClearPrint's the nice vellum that I give out to you. And then you're going to lay out 6 squares with inscribed circles. You want to plan ahead. I'm not going to tell you how you're going to lay them out, but I want a nicely balanced sheet. I don't want everything squished over to one side. Edges can touch, but sides may not. And then you can see I've given you 6 squares to do, from a 1/2-inch square to a 2-inch square. And then the squares will all be medium weight lines and the circles lightweight lines. You are not to erase the guideline X that you put in for the perfect square. So let's look at me drawing this. So again, you're laying out ClearPrint, and then you're going to tape your paper down. Again, I reuse the paper over and over, and I like the blue painter's tape better than the drafting tape. One thing that I think I forgot to tell you guys about these lead holders is when you're done every day, you want to take it apart, and you'll see a bunch of graphite in the bottom. If you don't do this, you will end up with all of your tools being coated in black graphite. So you want to take them to a garbage can. I got my garbage can here with the liner, and you want to pound out what's in there. Otherwise, you'll end up, and your hands will get dirty, your tools will get dirty, etc. So, and I don't think I've shown you guys how to use the erasing shield yet, so let me do that too. I showed some people who were here in the studio. They can hear me sharpening away, and you'll hear it when it gets smoother. So I blow the graphite dust off. You can put it in that little white cotton. Then I shorten it back up with one of these 2 holes. And then I want to take a scrap piece of paper, and I want to just break the tip ever so slightly. What lead are we drawing with for guidelines? What lead type? And those of you who borrowed equipment, I loaned you one of these. I would suggest you buy 2 more, so that you have each type of lead in its own lead holder. Otherwise, you're going to break the lead, you're going to lose it, you're going to forget which lead is which, and you're going to come ask me, and I'm not going to be able to tell you because it's not marked. So what lead am I using for guidelines?
4H.
So I'm going to mark where my 1 inch, and like I said, I'll do it a little bit darker so you can see it. That's where my title block would be. And then what I want to do is I want to plan. I don't want all of my squares lined up over here or all squished at the top. You can make a pattern out of it, however you want to do it. So I'm just going to say I want to have a square here in the center. So I've got my intersecting lines, and then I need to measure how big my square is. Only once, though, do I measure. I'm gonna make this my 2-inch square. So I'll measure 2 inches. I'll draw my line down. Really important to do the X in both directions. And then I'll get my square. Now I'm just going to show you 2 squares. If I wanted to do my next square next to it, I can't have the sides touch, but I can touch on the corners. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put one touching the corners. That way I can use this 45 I already had drawn. And I'm going to make this one my 1-inch square. Now I really only need one cross line through there to get a perfect square, but I want to double check it. And I want that X for my circle. So you would first lay out all 6 squares and have that perfect X in the center. Then you're going to darken in the square as a medium weight line, and you're going to draw the circle as a lightweight line. So all of these guidelines just stay where they are. I want to see these X's in there. So first I'll do the little one. I'm going to make it a medium weight line. What's my lead I'm using for medium?
HB.
That's right, HB. What other line, what do I use for heavy line? I know that's Nicholas's voice. I recognize it because he talks. What do you use for heavy lines, Nicholas?
Is it 2H?
Nope.
HB.
HB. I use the same lead because a heavyweight line is a medium weight line with. Okay, so I've got my medium weight line drawn with the circle. Now I'm going to pull out my circle template. And if you look at it, can you see these tick quadrant marks right here that are printed onto the circle template? There, you can see them better. So I'm going to use those to line up with that X I just created. So here's my X. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to use those as a guide, not as golden, because these templates are printed and then punched. So it could be a little bit off, but it'll get you pretty close. Sometimes they're dead on and sometimes they're not. So I'm just aligning. And when I do this, it looks like the circle is bigger than my square. That's because it has, I'm exaggerating, but it goes over a little bit. That's because the circle template is taking into account your pencil width and how your pencil fits in there. So now what I want to do is I want to just draw my circle with a 2H lead as a lightweight line, and I want to go like this. I go clockwise, and see how my hand is rotating? I'm following the circle so that I'm always staying at the inner edge of that circle when I draw. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw that. So I would use a 2H lead, and I would go around twice. So I should see a difference in line weights between these two. You're seeing this looks almost as dark as this. That's because I drew my guidelines dark so you could see them. But your guidelines should be really light. They should be gray. They should be ghost-like, and you don't erase them. But let's say I made a mistake, and I made this line come up too high right here. So here's where my erasing shield comes in. So this is your erasing shield. You don't want to bend it, because if you bend it, it won't work properly. If you don't have an equipment box for your tools, get something right away, because you will ruin your tools. And I showed you guys my equipment box, right? It's an old fishing tackle box. And then it sits right on my desk. and I have equipment that I bought when I was in high school. So what the erasing shield can do is it can do two things. I can protect the edge and just erase this line here, or I could come in and erase part of a line using any one of the openings in the space. So I've got this opening here. I would come in and I would erase. And then I would use my brush to brush away. Never brush away with your hands because the oils on your hands will smear the paper. So in this particular case, I want everything up to that edge line. So now I'm going to erase this. The only time you erase guidelines is if they're wrong or they confuse you, like when I found the center of that paper. And then you just brush away. So you're going to put 6 on there. Do 6 with the circle template. And you're going to trying to see if I didn't really like the ones that she had done in this assignment, but there's one way. She did space them evenly. Here I told her to move them down. 18. So here's another one. So the other is sometimes you redo a drawing, and on hers she said no change because she didn't make a significant change in the quality of her drawing from one to the other. So if you want me to make comments on your drawings before you turn them in a midterm, you will not be able to redraw them after midterm, but you can redraw at any point up until now. So I would like you to submit them. I'll look at them, I'll make comments, and then give you what would be a potential grade for that. I'll give you your final grade when I collect them at midterms. We good on that? All right, it's 1:15. Let me just show you one last assignment. We are going to do our last mandatory lettering assignment, and that is quotes. And for this assignment, you're gonna be creating all the lines. The last one I gave you a printed version with the lines that were 1/4 inch high, and then the gap was 1/8 inch high. We are now going to go to lines that are 1/8 inch high. So in this assignment, and it's called the quotes assignment, I ask you to put a title block at the bottom. So there's where my title block goes. It will eventually become a heavy line. I will stay 1/2 inch in from each edge, and then I'll put my title in there as I had before. Then you're going to take the Ames lettering guide, which is why you guys probably really want to get in here sooner rather than later. And I give you 2 weeks to do this assignment. And this one, you do it, and you use a straight edge, you get a perfect score. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the top, and you're going to line up the first circle at the top, and then you're going to just start drawing lines, 1/8 inch lines, and you're going to fill the entire paper. This lettering assignment takes about 4 hours to do. So keep that in mind as you budget your time. So you're going to fill up the whole paper, but see how quickly the Ames lettering guide, if I had to measure it, I'd be uneven. Then when I finish, where I need more lines, I just line up the top circle and I keep going. You notice I'm only holding the parallel tight with my hand. I'm not, and I'm just moving my pencil down to the next line and letting my pencil, let me draw them a little bit darker, letting my pencil be what fills the lines. So you want them even lighter than what I've got up here. I just drew them darker so you'd see them. But you saw how quickly I've done about 1/4 of the paper in just a couple minutes. As opposed to measuring, takes much longer. You'd have to create a guideline on the side and then measure down, and it would all be uneven. So for this assignment, I ask that you start 1/2 inch in from the edge. So you're going to create a guideline 1/2 inch in from the edge. And then you're going to start lettering. And let me pull up the lettering assignment. So it's quotes of famous architects. And I tried to get as many women in it as I could. Okay. So let me share this. So here it is. It's called Famous Quotes Assignment. And you notice there's 17 quotes. You're going to do all 17. Some people will get them on one page if they're writing a little bit tiny. Or some people, because the guidelines, some people go a little above and below. Some people will take a little more than one page. So you'll have a title block. You'll see on here I say, create a title block as we have learned. Write the following sentences one time on an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper. Do not use vellum. Vellum will smear. Use a piece of print paper. And then use your Ames lettering guide to create a sheet with lines spaced 1/8 inch apart. Start the sentences 1/2 inch in from the left-hand side and 1/2 inch from the top. And then when you finish one quote, you also need to include the architect's name and date of birth and death. Go to the next line and start the next quote. So let me go back to my camera. So what I'm going to do is I would start up at the top, an 1/8 of an inch, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a 1/2 inch down. And I would do the first quote. And I can't remember what it is. So I'm just going to write one that I think is in there, which is Mies van der Rohe, less is more. Do you remember in the video about architects, Venturi said less is a bore. So then you would write Mies van der Rohe, and you're going to, if you're right-handed, your triangle's on your left-hand side when you're lettering, and all the verticals are straight. Okay? So when you're all done, your lettering will look like this. Okay, you can see she's got a title block at the bottom. I added one more quote, so there's 17 quotes now. She used a straight edge for everyone. But she did this, but she had to redo it because her first assignment, I wouldn't grade because every time she did a quote, she just jammed the next sentence right on top of it. And I couldn't read it. I don't know how she drew. So everything's like mushed together. So this was not acceptable. So this is what we're looking for. And I'll put a sample of this on Blackboard. Okay, so that's 2 assignments and a lettering. The lettering you get 2 weeks for. The 2 assignments I'm looking for on Monday. We didn't have a drafted assignment this past Monday, so this gives you that to work on. So why don't we take a 10-minute break, and then we will come back, and you guys are going to present your schematic designs.